Are you happy that he started 32 matches in the Premier League last year? Or are you upset that he was part of a defense that gave up over 100 goals in the Premier League last year?
I think it's the latter, unfortunately. I mean, maybe it's good experience, but that can't help with confidence and being surrounded.
I mean, he didn't even make the Copa squad.
Yeah. So I guess it's not good. Welcome back to Yanks Abroad. We are actually right off of a huge U.S. Olympic victory, 4-1. But today we were talking about the big boys, for the most part, where we think all the U.S. men's national team players should transfer this summer. Now, we've talked about this on our European transfer episode. It seems like all the clubs have just taken the transfer window off, and everyone agreed players are staying this year, and we'll do transfers again next year. But just in case the transfer window heats up, as obviously the Euros and Copa are over, and the seasons are quickly approaching, we put some ideal destinations to try and get the best out of all of our U.S. men's national team players. At the top of the list, I had Fuller and Balogun.
Okay, hit me. He's actually the one person who I didn't even put anything down for because once the Mikatadze rumors died, to me that meant Monaco was like, we're sticking with Balogun as our striker.
So my thing, I didn't take it that way. As much as that would be great in them showing a vote of confidence. But if they went out and tried to sign him, it broke down because of his agent, I believe.
Yeah, agent fees.
Like, who's to say they have any trust in them and they're not going to try and
I think part of it's Ben Yedder's aging out, obviously. Right. So I think they just needed another striker. Obviously, Mikatadze coming off an incredible Euros. Yeah. Like, to me, it felt like they saw a market opportunity and not necessarily, they just spent $40 million on Fuller and Balogun. Yeah. So it's like, are they really going to just try and ship him off? I mean, they would take a massive loss at this point. So
right. So speaking of strikers aging out, I've made myself very clear on how I feel about Alvaro Morata. Mm-hmm. I think he's 31 at this point.
Okay.
You just get rid of Giroud you have Noah Okafor, you have Jovic, who Okafor, it's early, but Jovic has been there for a few years, I feel like now, and hasn't done anything. So I had Balogun going to AC Milan. This is obviously no rumors at all. I actually did see a rumor for the first time. It was one of those Twitter sources that might be fake. Might be
somehow
real.
They have 48,000 followers, but they have no credibility whatsoever.
So it might be real, might be fake, but at least I finally saw it, and it's just obviously makes sense. They don't have a young striker with Pulisic, with Yunus Musa, but I thought this would make a ton of sense just because Morata, let alone if you're trying to get Morata at 25 years old and there's potential there, we know exactly what he is at this point. Is Morata going to be the reason that AC Milan takes over Inter? Not at all. Lautaro is in the best form of his life. Inter is 10 times better than AC Milan right now. And for me, Morata is not the answer of why they're going to be better. I don't know if Balogun will be, but based off of, again, it was a couple bright moments, but Balogun looked great.
We've seen what Balogun can do when he's at his best. We've seen what Americans can do in the Italian league. We're seemingly finding a lot of success there. We've seen Balogun and Pulisic play well off of each other. They've both gotten the best out of each other playing together. So, I mean, it makes sense in theory. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. But, I think as far as destinations go, I'd rather him stay at Monaco and be the striker rather than go to AC Milan and sit behind Morata. That would be my big concern for him if he were to go there.
Yeah, my only thing is, how much did Morata cost? 10, 15?
Yeah, 11 or 12 million euros.
For me, it's not in the market. Well, it seems like the market is resetting a little bit. But if we had talked about a year or 2 years ago, 11 mil, that's practically you're just throwing a flyer. And if he never plays 1 minute for you, it's actually not that big of a deal. So I'm not worried that he's the 100% striker. And if Balo went there, I think he could compete and get minutes. They play in a lot of competitions. He would get minutes regardless, whether it's day in, day out. But yeah, that was my ideal place just because it condenses the watching that I need to do for U.S. men's national team players.
Half the players in one match.
Exactly.
All right, well, I went Weston McKennie next. That was my first big one because it seemed like he was going to Aston Villa a month ago, and then that broke down. He is clearly not really welcome at Juventus. Everyone saw the story about him coming back after being on loan at Leeds and whatever.
And it's a new coach.
New manager. Thiago Motta is in charge. He
also made it clear that he does not want him.
So where does Weston McKennie go?
Yeah.
I think a lot of Weston McKennie wants to be in the Premier League. I think that's where he wants to play. But seeing him have so much success in Italy, I'd like to see him stay there. I don't want him to go to Tottenham or Everton and struggle in the Premier League, struggle for minutes, not play week in and week out. I'd rather him go to a Fiorentina who he's rumored to. Or who else did I have written down here? Atalanta. I don't know if Atalanta would sign Weston McKennie. That would be their biggest signing. They would have to break their own transfer record pretty much to sign him. assuming he goes for 35 or 40 million euros.
I do think Coop Miners is being so. Is he on? No, he went to
AC Milan.
He went to Coop Miners. Who went to Atletico Madrid at the January deadline last year? A Dutch? No.
De Roon? I don't think De Roon's on
No.
Atletico
All
Madrid.
right, never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, he's been rumored. McKennie's been mostly rumored to Everton and Fiorentina. That's what I've seen. I would like him to go to Fiorentina if I had got the choice. I think they're actually building an interesting project based off of a lot of the rumors I've seen. Like, it's been a slow transfer window, but like clubs like Fiorentina, I've seen Como is putting in a lot of work in Italy to try and build a team that can, fight for European spots. I just worry he goes to Everton. Everton go through 3 managers next year, and he can't find a steady spot. Like, he's coming off the best season of his career. I'd like him to stay in Italy, a place where he's playing well and continue to thrive. I mean, he had 7 assists in the league last year, 10 in all comps. Like, he was really good. He played a lot of different positions. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was having like a revelation when I was doing this about like, as much as I want players to go to the Premier League because it's the league I watch the most.
Yeah,
I feel like it's probably the worst possible thing that could happen for U.S. men's national team players. Like, just overall, I feel like I was looking at like the Euros team of, and obviously it's a lot of Spain players, but outside of like Rodri and Walker got in there somehow, like for some reason it doesn't feel like Premier League players like thrive the way they do in the Premier League.
I mean, I think
international tournaments, which is weird because it is the hardest league in the world, but maybe they're just, you get run through.
Well, it's also the least similar league to international style of play.
Yeah.
That, I think, plays a huge role. Like, the Bundesliga and the Serie A are both very similar types of play, and the Spanish league to international football. It's a lot more transition-based, a lot more, like, 1v1s and things like that, whereas the Premier League is very team-oriented, tactical, very physical. It's just very different. And I agree. I think there is something to the fact that Premier League players look tired at the end of the year a little bit more. Not that I watch La Liga week in and week out, but if you're playing at Real or Barca, you're not necessarily, struggling every week.
So that's kind of what I had going through this. And the strongest link is Everton, and like a Sean Dyche system is probably a good for him.
It's a good fit, yeah.
And they obviously lost Onana, and then I went through the rest of their midfield. Everton would probably be the best of like the worst for me, because like I think he would get consistent minutes. I think he would be in a well-drilled system, but like Everton is probably a bottom half club, like confirmed at this point in where they are.
I'm a big Sean Dyche believer. Like, he got Burnley into 7th place one year. Like, I think Sean Dyche with the right players and without a points deduction has a chance at a top half finish, but they're not challenging for trophies necessarily, but they're challenging for European spots.
You have the top 6. You have Newcastle, who's going to be up there. You have Aston Villa, who's already up there. You have Palace under the, like, it's becoming a very busy top half, and I just worry that he's just going to be running around, hating his life. Like, in reality, when did he go to Juve? 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, Juve was still at the point to where, in your mind, you're competing for Champions Leagues, you're competing for Serie A titles every single year, and now he's going to Everton to essentially compete for nothing. So where's the like true determination or motivation?
No, for sure.
So yeah, I agree. I would rather him stay in Italy. And then I was listening to a podcast that was interestingly saying that they thought his style would fit a lot in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
And they throw out a Frankfurt. Like, I don't think he's getting a move to a Dortmund or a Leipzig.
Well, like, that's what I'm most concerned about is he does get a bigger move because he is a great squad player for a bigger club. But I'd rather him play week in and week out in, a lesser team.
Yeah, so I think a Frankfurt or a Fiorentina makes a ton of sense. It's just, again, with someone who went to Juve when they were still at their peak, and it was like, he's getting paid a lot and competing at the top originally when he went there. Are you going to go to one of those clubs?
He was
great.
But
at this point, does he really have a choice?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he has to leave, so that's the most important thing. Like, we can't have a situation where he doesn't leave, he's excluded from the squad, and is just not playing at all. But yeah, I mean, obviously he was great with Schalke when he was younger in the Bundesliga. So I think Germany or Italy make the most sense. We're seeing success in Italy. I'd like him to stay there.
Yeah, agreed.
Gio Reyna?
Yeah, so the same podcast that I was listening to talked about like this interesting project that De Zerbi's building at Marseille.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if they get
Have you seen some of the clips of them playing just like 12, 13 days into...
No, but...
I mean, De Zerbi ball is a serious thing if he can implement it.
They brought in Højbjerg, they brought in Greenwood, who we don't have to touch on that, but is a good player
obviously,
in a vacuum.
On paper, is a good player.
You have Eddie Nketiah potentially going there.
Yeah.
And then if you add Gio Reyna, like... they have a Minarit, I think he's Algerian or Moroccan center attacking mid. So he would have to compete for that spot, but like that seems like a place where they're going to be playing very fun, expansive football and competing at the top of Liga. And that seems like a spot. Again, De Zerbi seems like a manager who will get the best out of him.
De Zerbi, what I see with Gio Reyna and De Zerbi is like, I don't know how familiar you are with Pascal Gross at Brighton. So Pascal Gross forever was a true 10 for this Brighton side. De Zerbi came in and was like, in my system, we need the most creative player to play a little deeper, to contribute more in the build-up because they're able to play out of tight spaces. They're able to progress the ball quickly, switch the ball with both feet. I think Gio Reyna can play that kind of role for De Zerbi at Marseille. I think we've seen, obviously, success there as well. Balogun has had a good year in Ligue 1. There's more space, more time on the ball, a little less physical. I think Gio Reyna could use a year or two of confidence building going into the World Cup. So, I don't want him to try and, I feel like 4 years ago when he broke into Dortmund or whatever, 3 years ago, everyone's like, he'll be at Madrid in 2 years. That's not what we want. We were just saying it. When Pulisic went to Chelsea, honestly, that almost was a step backwards for him personally in his career. It was obviously a huge move, publicity-wise, yada, 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 but it doesn't help the U.S. men's national team. So Gio Reyna finding a fit at a Marseille who's going to play in European football, who plays a few big matches a year in Ligue 1 and have actually an incredible fan base. They have one of the craziest atmospheres in Europe. So I think that would be a great test for him. And I mean, De Zerbi's one of the best young managers. That's a good fit.
I completely agree. And also, to your point, I mean, I obviously didn't know about the gross profiling that De Zerbi does, but maybe Berhalter was on something when he was playing our deepest lying midfielder in match 1 of Copa. But yeah, I think that would be ideal. And that's kind of what I was saying on the point I left out on the Premier League thing is why not just let these guys go play, whatever, call it a Farmers League? I don't care if you come into the U.S. men's national team setup on full confidence. That is the best thing. 100%. And
look at some of these other teams at the Euros, who make runs, but their players aren't playing in the best league because they come in full of confidence. Yeah. They come in knowing their role, knowing how to play their role. Gio Reyna not getting to play at all. He comes into U.S. men's national team camp. He's trying to play these preseason friendlies. There's tons of pressure on him. It's not a good fit.
Yeah, it's like Danny Olmo. If he was starting at Man City or Real Madrid and then it's probably not the same. The fact that he gets to play in a free-flowing Leipzig side, he plays very well. I mean, he was obviously coming off injury, so maybe he was a little more rested. But it seems like a good recipe for, rather than Weston McKennie chasing around Foden, De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes in those midfields 100%. In the Premier League. That just can't be a good thing for him. So Gio Reyna, that one is actually slightly linked.
That one looks like it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, so that would be awesome.
Would be
because that is a team that I wanted to watch anyways, and it would be cool if he went there.
Definitely. Who do you have next?
I had Tanner Tessmann.
Okay.
So we talked about the Inter deal breaking down. Now this one is the first one. I didn't see that Gio was essentially a done deal. That would be awesome.
To Marseille?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a done deal, but that one looks like a pretty strong link.
That one seems like the most done deal to Fiorentina as I've seen, which would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I had written down he's rumored to go to Fiorentina, Como, Parma, and Torino, all rumored to get him. I was actually most interested, if you don't know a lot about Tanner Tessmann, go back and watch our Olympics preview to get a little bit more of a deep dive into him, but he's basically a very underrated, not well-known center midfielder for the U.S. He's 6'2", plays a deep-lying playmaker. I think after this Olympics, he's going to be much more known. He's been incredible so far. A profile we don't have, and one that's very exciting for the World Cup in 26.
Yes.
So definitely go check him out if you don't know a lot about him. But so I wanted to see him go to Como because they're building a really cool project. Cesc Fabregas is the coach,
okay,
and I think he has a partial stake in the club as well.
I think they have another big name owner.
Yeah, I think so. So Varane is now playing for them.
Yeah,
Pepe Reina is their goalkeeper. They have Belotti, Cutrone, Alberto Moreno, another young American, Nicolas Chiachirini, who's a winger. They have a lot of cool, interesting things, people to learn from. Other Americans. I don't know if you've ever been to Lake Como, but the stadium is literally directly on the lake. It's sick.
That's awesome.
And
did they get?
They've been promoted, I think, either 2 of the last 3 years or 2 years in a row and 3 of the last 4.
Okay, because I've always heard of Lake Como as a vacation spot.
Yeah, so
I always correlate vacation spots to if they have good soccer teams, and I never heard of Como.
No, the stadium's tiny. They're not they haven't been a Serie A club in forever.
Okay.
They're back because of this project, and obviously Tanner Tessmann, opportunity to learn from Cesc Fabregas is that's a dream. So, and he gets to play with Varane and Pepe Reina. I mean, these guys have won Champions Leagues. I think it would be a cool project. Fiorentina, I also think is doing something really cool. So that would be okay, but Como would be my preferred destination.
Yeah. Funny enough, if I had one player, and we may be getting ahead of ourselves, it's only the Olympics, but if I had one player who I think actually could do it in the Premier League, I thought Tessmann, like he is such just a profile that we don't see us producing.
100%.
And it was like now again, I don't want him at a lower to mid table club just chasing the ball around and them sitting in, but I think if he went like. He reminds me of he could be a for Edson Alvarez. He's out injured. Like you could throw him into the West Ham side, and he would. I think he would thrive there.
I think if De Zerbi had stayed at Brighton, I think he would have been really good in that system type of thing. Very, very good on the ball. I've never seen someone with the intuition on the ball that he has from an American. Next level midfielder. All the best traits of Cardoso and Adams, and being 6'2", and being able to switch the ball with both feet.
I honestly think it's. I want to get to it at the end, but I think it's almost like. He's locked in to be our starting number 6.
I mean, I had only seen comps really. I don't watch Serie B. Let's just be real. Until the Olympics, and that first game, I was mesmerized, jumping out of my seat. I was really blown away by how good I thought he was.
Yeah. I didn't get the chance to watch the France game, unfortunately, but the New Zealand, he just looked. I mean, we were dominating,
right?
So take it with a grain of salt, but. His calmness on the ball was the thing that just struck me the most. Is he was picking it up further up the pitch or deep at the 6 in between the center backs and spraying, and wherever he was picking the ball up, he never seemed rushed. He kept the tempo the entire time. I thought it was extremely impressive.
100%. So I mean, hopefully to a Fiorentina or Como, but. Worst case scenario, he stays at Venezia, plays with Busio. I'm not worried about that.
I think wherever, but I think he will get.
Not Celtic, though. I've seen a heavy rumor to Celtic. I don't want him to go there.
And why don't you want him to go there?
To Celtic?
Yeah.
Because I don't think, as we saw with Carter Vickers, being good in the Scottish League doesn't translate.
Maybe Carter Vickers just isn't good. He was never good for Tottenham.
He's one of the best center backs in the Scottish League, if not the best.
That's insane.
Well documented that he's very good.
Okay, but what Celtic looks great. Or Chelsea sucks.
Chelsea that was a tough showing, I think. I don't know. Maresca's first game. I don't know. I think I'd rather see him play in the Serie A. We're seeing success there.
No, I agree. It's not a good league, but that's a good team where they do play.
But he's not. You need some challenge on a week-to-week basis.
Fair.
I mean, I don't know how much Scottish League you've watched, but outside of Rangers and Celtic, it's not fun to watch.
I guess it's a balance of confidence and still getting tested.
Of course. All right, Serginho Dest is who I had next, which is a quick conversation. He's coming off the ACL. Yeah. I think it's unlikely he moves this window because obviously the ACL situation. PSV was planning on activating his buy clause. Yeah. Didn't do it. He has 1 year left on his contract at Barcelona. If he's healthy enough in January, I think he'll go back to PSV or to Ajax. I actually think Ajax may be where he ends up to go back home to where he was an academy kid. Yeah. But what I was reading is it seems more likely that he's just going to rehab all year at Barcelona and leave on a free in 25 when he can make his decision about it. I don't think he'll play much football in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with that injury, we've seen it across all sports. I didn't have him linked to, because I kind of just assumed that he was going to go to PSV once he was healthy. But I think getting fit at Barcelona, that seems like a nice life. You know,
100%.
I would go to Spain to rehab. And then on top of that, being a free agent, and he's the type of player where I'm confident as long as there's not a top 5. I mean, he can play left or right back, which gives him an advantage 100%. As well. But as long as there's not a true guy, I think he can go to any club in the world. I do think he's that good. It needs to be.
He's a Swiss Army knife kind of player for anyone who plays in possession. He can't play 38 matches a year in the league, but in games where you're going to have a lot of the ball.
That's what,
to me, he's like what Zinchenko has kind of become for us, where it's he's not going to start the games against Man City, most likely away, or things like that. But in a game where we know we're going to control the ball.
I think that's harsh on Dest.
He's not a good defender.
But he's definitely better than Zinchenko. I don't know about defending, but overall player.
No, he's not. Zinchenko's won 4 Premier Leagues. He's not a better player than Alexander Zinchenko.
Zinchenko is not the reason he won one of those Premier Leagues.
Zinchenko was unbelievable for Manchester City for multiple years.
That's actually insane. He was a
read about how
of the system.
Read about how Pep talks about Zinchenko.
Pep talks about all these players like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
I think I would listen to him over you about Dest is better than. Let us know in the comments if you think Dest is a better player than Zinchenko. I don't think you're going to be winning that argument.
Zinchenko couldn't even get consistent starts over Kivior or Tomiyasu. He's not that good.
I mean, Zinchenko is an incredible footballer.
Dest is essentially a worse version of Timber.
You're going to say João Cancelo? Oh, Timber. What? Dest is not even on the same planet as Timber. Timber can play as a center back. He's an actual defender.
No, but I'm saying the way they were going to invert Timber from left back into the midfield.
But that was never the plan.
That was not the plan.
No, the plan was to play him at right back.
The one preseason match that I went to,
when he played as a left back. I'm just letting you know.
He played as a left back and inverted.
I'm just letting you know, like, that wasn't why they bought him. They bought him as center back coverage for Saliba and right back coverage for Ben White.
Ben White's the fucking worst. All right, anyway.
Ben White's so good. Onwards. Who do you have next?
I had Timothy Weah. I have him. I think it would be great for him to stay.
I think he's going to stay.
I think he's going to stay. I think he's in the plans. And I think...
I mean, did you see what Thiago Motta said?
First I was just... Thiago Motta, I think, is going to build something very good.
Yeah, for sure.
At Juventus. So I think it's in his... If he can play in a... I think they're going to make a huge bounce back this year, and I think if he can get consistent minutes, that could be one of the best situations of everything we speak about.
For sure. I mean, apparently Motta wants to move him back to striker, which is what he was as an academy player.
Really?
At PSG, he was a striker, and then they moved him out to the wing for physical reasons, but because of the way that Thiago Motta sets up with like 8 midfielders, I think they want to move him as like the second striker off of Vlahovic, basically.
Sounds amazing.
Which is
Chiesa's leaving.
Right. So he's either going to play as kind of like a right winger or a...
Yeah.
They're not going to play 5 at the back, so he's not going to be a right wing back anymore. But
which is good for us also.
So Tim Weah has like a couple things. It's like, it kind of feels like it's eventually going to be now or never. I think I read he's never played more than 1,600 minutes in a season or something like that, which is crazy for a guy who's been at PSG, Juventus,
That's the
Lille.
problem of what we keep talking about. These players, we're not in a position to where we want, unfortunately, we're not in a position to where we want our players going to the best clubs in the world.
No, for sure. But it seemed like he was going to leave with Allegri. It seems like Motta wants to keep him. Yeah. So hopefully he gets to play.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect setup, especially with Chiesa leaving. There just has to be minutes for him there.
100%. Quickly, Malik Tillman already activated his clause. He's going to PSV permanently. But Bayern Munich do have a buyback clause in 2 years for 35 million euros. So...
In 2 years' time, if inflation keeps moving the way...
35 million euros.
That could seem like a very good deal for them.
Tillman's been really good in their preseason. He just had an assist yesterday. Pepe also had a hat-trick. I don't know if you saw that a couple of days ago in their preseason. So they're cooking over there.
You know how you can mute words on Twitter?
You muted Pepe.
I muted Pepe.
All right. Haji Wright.
So this is not going to happen, and I haven't seen anything of it. It was a rumor in 2023, and we're in 2024, but I thought it actually made sense now. Him to Crystal Palace.
Okay.
I would love that. Eze's going to leave.
I mean, Mateta's been cooking, though.
No, I know. Olise already left, but if we're not going to play him as a striker, and he played off the left a lot for Coventry.
2 strikers, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but the way Glasnow sets up, it was almost like one of Olise or Eze was dropping off, and then
it's like
one
a
was
second
floating.
striker. Yeah.
With both of them leaving, it seems like there's some space, and I would love him to go play at Crystal Palace. The way they were playing towards the end of the season, if he can fit into that role, he's obviously different than Eze and Olise.
Obviously, yeah.
But I don't know. I think that could be a very fun place.
Yeah. So I mean, I think partially like, do Coventry even want to sell him? He had an incredible season. Right. They want to get promoted to the Premier League, but he was like a record signing for them, 11 million euros. He's 26 years old. He had a massive season for them. Obviously, they may just be like, okay, let's cash in. Probably get 20 to 25 million euros for him. So I had potentially Brentford if they sell Ivan Toney.
Okay.
I said potentially Everton if they sell Calvert-Lewin.
So you have him playing out-and-out striker.
I don't think he's anything other than a striker.
Okay.
I don't think a Premier League club is buying him not to play at striker.
Fair.
Like, you're not paying for a guy who had a great goal-scoring season in the championship to move him to a different position.
Sure.
That's how I see it. But I think if, like, he would be one of those ones to me where it's like a Premier League club panics towards the end of the window because they've sold a striker and need to get one in, and they'll overpay, and Coventry's like, we'll take the money.
And then
he's one where I'd like to see him in the Premier League. Like, I think we don't necessarily need him, right? Like, Balogun's going to be our starting striker. Pepe looks to be the backup.
Which is wrong.
But nonetheless,
worth,
in 2 years, he'll be 28. If he doesn't, like, if he continues to be a championship level striker, I don't see him getting into the U.S. men's national team.
Agreed.
So giving him a Premier League challenge, if he goes and scores 12, 13, 14 goals in the Premier League, then we're talking about a serious guy who may push Balogun for a striker. Like, more competition, the better. Always. He's one where actually I think it's better for him to move up a league rather than to continue to play in the championship.
See what he's about.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's why I had him going to Palace. I think he should be the second striker without a doubt behind Balogun. And how long are we just going to allow Pepe to be Luke de Jong's backup?
Hat-trick in the friendly.
I could score a hat trick in a friendly.
All right.
Anyways, I had Josh Sargent next.
Me too.
Where do you have him going?
I don't have him leaving.
I had him going to Leeds. It's a minor step up.
I feel like if I'm Josh Sargent, I finally have found myself scoring goals. He's only at 24, which is crazy because I feel like we've been talking about Josh Sargent
Forever.
my entire life.
Yeah.
He had 16 goals. That's a lot.
For me, it's like they've only, as of right now, to my knowledge, Leeds have only sold Archie Gray. They still have Somerville. Like, if all stays the same, Patrick Bamford is into his 30s. You almost guarantee yourself the playing for the best team in the championship and getting promoted. Like, that seems like the perfect step for Sargent. Whereas Norwich, I think, were in the playoff last year.
And
the
semis.
Like, there's just no guarantees with that. When, again, this is a great situation. I mean, he played on a top championship team at Norwich and scored a lot of goals. Like, at Leeds, I think he would be. And then again, it's just a confidence play. But again, why are we still even talking? At what point do we stop talking about Josh Sargent?
I mean,
does it matter?
If he didn't have 16 goals this year, we wouldn't be talking about him. He went on a crazy run. I don't think he's going to move. He's under contract till 2028. Norwich are looking to get promoted. They're a yo-yo club. Like, they're not a selling club.
No.
So I just don't see them selling a guy who was really good for them last year.
I feel you. I just, like, I don't know. It's similar. Not that it's a huge step up. It's just like Sargent either needs to go be the guy on a team that's going to take someone up to promotion, and then we see what he's got in the Premier League one last time, and then we make a final decision on if we
I don't think he's ever going to be a Premier League level striker. He doesn't have the physicality. He doesn't have the technique. Like, he's not Haji,
if we're looking for a true second striker behind Ballo, like, at some point we need to see what they're made of. And we obviously, that was a bad situation the first time with Sargent in the Premier League.
I completely agree, but I mean, I think we've seen the player enough for the U.S. to know. I mean, he's only 24, which I like.
Right. See, like,
no, for sure. I mean,
I 27.
I'd rather see him go play in France though than watch him play in the Premier League, because he's not going to play for a team that's going to have a lot of the ball. So, like, what are we getting out of that?
But there are strikers who do take that counterattacking.
Yeah, but
by the way, if Leeds gets promoted, this is obviously a huge hypothetical. He's not even on that team. But I don't think they would be. I think they would probably be a favorite to stay up. And not that means they would be dominating games, but...
No, I get what you're saying.
I don't know.
Speaking of Leeds, our favorite, Brendan Aronson, has come back from loan at Union Berlin and has been told by the manager that he'd like to include him in the squad this season and play a role for Leeds.
I don't care.
They're going to lose Willie Nato. They're going to lose Somerville.
Is that true?
I think so.
It's getting late.
Is it, though? There's still over a month. When we're recording this, there's still over a month.
Yeah, I guess. As many times as I've told myself, like, things are just delayed because of the tournaments, it just feels like it's getting late. So many deals are usually done before preseason, and none are done.
Yeah. No, it's definitely crazy. I do think he'll stay, though, with Leeds because, I mean, they have no reason to sell.
And Somerville both leave. It's a kind of a dream situation.
Yeah, and he had a good second half of the year for Union Berlin after a really slow start. For him. But nonetheless.
I'm done talking about it. I mean, we watched some of the U23 guys. By the time we get to the 2026 World
Brendan
Cup,
Aronson won't be in the squad. He will not be. Paxton might, but he won't be.
Paxton kind of looks like shit.
I'm not a huge fan, but people seem to be a fan of his.
I don't think Paxton looks good at all.
All right, Johnny Cardoso.
I had him staying.
I have him staying too, but I mean, I didn't realize that Barcelona, Atletico, Dortmund, and Leipzig have all contacted Real Betis. Betis has told them that 30 million euros is where the bidding begins.
I mean, okay, granted, I have not watched a lot of him, but I'm not understanding where any of this is coming from.
I mean, he was really good in Spain last year. In just 19 appearances, he was really, really good. Like, one of the best midfielders.
I didn't watch enough of him, and then in Copa, he was trash. And watching Tessmann, it's like, I feel like...
No, I agree. Funny enough, he's also heavily rumored to go to Fiorentina this summer. Yeah.
What is Fiorentina doing?
They're buying every American midfielder.
I love it.
But I think, keep Johnny where he is at Betis, and in a year or two, if Barcelona want to come get him, great.
Right. If he is cooking in the Spanish league, which historically breeds sixes and midfielders, I'd
rather him stay there than go play for Leipzig or Dortmund, where he's not going to play.
I'd rather him stay there than go to Barcelona and never touch the
100% agree. 100% agree. All right. I only have some keepers left.
Yeah, I had Slonina. So I had Slonina. I don't even know where to begin with him. The only thing I wrote down is he needs a permanent transfer out. They now have
Chelsea only has like 19 goalies though.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if they'd be willing to let him go.
He has to go. There's just no room for him to ever. I don't even know where he went on loan last year. I couldn't find a.
Wellen?
He's not even big enough to warrant rumors online.
No,
anywhere.
I just said Strasbourg because that's what makes sense for Chelsea players. That's where they all go because they're part of Chelsea Football Group.
Yeah. My concern is, why are we even talking about him if he can't start? Patrick Schulte
not good.
Is the worst goalkeeper
Not
I've
good.
ever seen in my life.
That first match was one of the worst performances I've.
Neither Olise's goal or Lacazette's goal should have.
The first one was ridiculous that it went in. It went in the middle of the net on the ground.
Olise's was the slowest curler I've ever seen. Granted, it was in the corner,
but he didn't even get close to it.
I think you saved that.
Oh, all right, I don't know about that.
So I don't even. I was like, he's got to get out, but I'm not even sure we should be speaking about him. I think we're in a bad place with the goal.
100%. I mean, so Nina is our big hope.
Matt Turner, I didn't realize he's 30 years old.
Yeah, he wasn't a professional soccer player until he was like 25.
I mean, we're hooked.
Yeah.
In the goalkeeper position.
I mean, and it looks like Turner is going back to the MLS.
Patrick Schulte. Turner's going to the MLS. Let's go with Horvath. Any hope there?
He'll just like continue to be Horvath, like probably be the second or third keeper at the 26 World Cup. Like he's solid but terrible.
I don't know what to do about this goalkeeper situation.
No, Sonina is the hope. I think
How could he be our hope if he can't start over Schulte? Explain that.
I mean, you know how national team shit is. It's just weird.
It's weird, but he's also like really bad.
I agree. I think it's one of those where you don't bench the guy in the Olympics. Like, you know what I mean?
After that first match,
everyone wanted him to bench him. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have Turner.
Where do you?
I want him to go to Middlesbrough. I think they were one of the better teams offensively last year in the league, but allowed 62 goals, which was the second most of the top half of the league.
Okay.
Michael Carrick's the manager, and he's kind of like an exciting young manager. I feel like the hype has died down a little bit because they weren't great last year, but the year prior when he came in, he really had them playing some good football. So yeah, I thought that would be a good loan. Go to the championship, play every week. Like, he has to leave Nottingham. They just signed another keeper. They have like 6 keepers too. Yeah. I mean, these teams are all obsessed with buying goalies. That's the only movement in this transfer window. They're obsessed with buying goalies,
but none of them that are actually good.
Well, Sells is good.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. I'm really concerned about our goalkeeper situation because, like, the whole excitement about the Olympics is like, oh, who could occupy spots in the actual
for sure. Well, maybe Sonino will play match day 3. Sometimes in tournament football, you see them switch to goalkeeper for match day 3. So
yeah, that's usually if you're through, I feel like.
Yeah, well,
we have a must-win.
I agree.
Yeah.
Actually, the last person I did write down, though, was Austin Trusty.
He's got to get out. Well, actually,
now that they're down, he might start every...
True.
I mean...
He started...
It's one of those things where it's like, are you happy that he started 32 matches in the Premier League last year, or are you upset that he was part of a defense that gave up over 100 goals in the Premier League last year?
I think it's the latter, unfortunately. I mean, maybe it's good experience, but that can't help with confidence and being surrounded...
I mean, he didn't even make the Copa squad.
Yeah. So I guess it's not good. In a position where...
But he was great in the championship for Birmingham City, so, like, maybe he cooks.
No, he's one where if he needs to get good because he could have a real chance at doing something.
Yeah, no, like that left center back role is open.
Yeah.
And that's his preferred position.
Yeah. So
you have anyone else written down?
No.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to do was our way, way too early 2026 World Cup lineup. Because at this point, with McKennie's future up in the air, Adams getting surgery again.
Ridiculous. We never even talked about that. I mean, the fact that Berhalter was playing him knowing that is crazy.
Terrorist.
He's actually horrible. It's crazy how long he lasted as manager.
By the way, for the talk that was so hot, I haven't heard a thing about the national team job.
I mean, everything I'm reading is like they are working hard on getting a big name, and there's a lot of money being thrown around.
Yes.
But what does that mean?
I saw the tactical manager tweet before you had sent it to me. Who does he know that I'm just supposed to trust per source from tactical manager?
Don't really trust necessarily that.
No, but it gets me excited.
No, for sure. I think they're trying really hard to get a big name. The fact that there's no concrete links doesn't excite me that they're...
Right. Like, someone has to know something about someone's agent.
I think post-Olympics, you're going to see something happen.
Like, there's not one intern that booked the boardroom that they are doing the meeting in that knows something. Like,
tight ship.
It's fucking...
It's going to be Vieira, I think.
Great. I'm down for Vieira.
I mean,
who else That's who.
Feels like it's
that's a
going to be
big
him
name,
or,
right?
him or Henry. It feels like it's who it's going to be. Henry's a terrible manager.
Francis cooking.
They barely cooked us.
Yeah,
They were
and-
shit until
and
that
they
goal.
just beat Guinea
Yeah.
by 1, and they scored first and had it chopped off for VAR.
All right.
Way too early. So,
sorry.
the only reason I wanted to talk about it is because I think, in my head, I think the midfield looks completely different. I think Malik Tillman and Tessmann both start at the 2026 World Cup. Is that a huge call?
I think it's hard to say at all because we haven't even gotten one selection. We don't know the manager.
Well, of course.
So, like, there's going to be some people who, like, were a big part of the squad under Berhalter who are never going to see
That's
the
what
squad
I'm saying,
again.
which is exciting to me because we suck.
I agree. I don't think...
Like, I think there's a world Adams isn't at the World Cup.
I definitely think that's a possibility.
Yeah. With Cardoso, if he's actually
I think the
getting
front three will
Barcelona's-
be Reyna, Balogun, and Pulisic. I don't think Reyna will be playing in midfield unless this De Zerbi project works out. But I don't think he's a midfielder at the international level. He has not had one good match as a midfielder for us. I've never seen him have a good match in
You know
midfield.
who we didn't talk about that doesn't get talked about at all anymore is P-Fuck.
He just like is kind of cooking, but like no one cares.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I thought about it. I was like, why is he never spoken about?
He just like there's too many. I think once Balogun came along, I think Pepe's seen as like a young talent. I know you hate him.
What? Is he still young?
He's got to be like 22.
Pepe?
Yeah.
I don't know. He just seems too American for me.
Yeah. Pepe's 21.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I need to. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to relax.
You need to relax. Yeah. He moved to Germany when he was 18. He went to Augsburg, 19.
Yeah. It's just the center back, like Miles
The
Robinson.
center back issue is a much bigger issue than the front.
The triangle of three.
It can't be Walker Zimmerman ever again.
It's. I don't know. The more I wish we didn't start this podcast so I could live on an ignorance level to where I was before this, where I thought we were actually
Good.
going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are
Not good at all.
atrocious.
I mean, we're not a
We have
top
no center
25
backs.
team in the
We have
world.
no goalkeepers. Anthony Robinson sucks. Caleb Wiley clearly isn't the replacement.
John Tolkien looks good,
Tolkien
man.
looks
I told you,
very
Tolkien's good. That's my guy.
Tolkien is very good.
John Tolkien's a real fucking player. He's actually a defender. Like, that's the
Tessmann's
difference.
good, and our front three. I don't know. We'll
That
probably get
Nathan
hurt again.
Harriel guy is not good.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
thanks for watching. If there's any other players that we missed, let us know in the comments where you think they'll go, where you think the best players will go. Obviously, we didn't mention Pulisic. He's going to stay at AC Milan.
Same with Yunus Musa.
Same with Yunus Musa.
Which
That's
is
another player
bullshit.
who's very young that we don't
I went
realize
to
how he's very
the
young.
game last night at Yankee Stadium.
And neither of them.
Came on
Pulisic
at
played
the
like 8
81st
minutes,
minute.
right? Yeah.
That's like Tottenham's in South Korea for preseason. It's like us not playing Sunny. Like there's one
Oh, congrats
reason.
on the trophy, by the way.
Yes, big. We have 3 preseason trophies
Audi
in
Cup.
3 straight years.
What's this one called?
J League, Super League, something.
Nice. And what was the other one?
I forget. But we were kind of cooking.
Cooking.
I mean, just get used to lifting hardware.
No, I mean, that's a team that's winning. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe
Better than
button.
losing- well, you guys didn't lose to United, but
They haven't lost to anybody.
yeah. Anyways,
Hale End is cooking, though.
yin wary.
Peace.